Hello everyone. So in this session, we will understand about the time travel. So what is a time travel? So time travel is the feature which allows a user to access the data back in the history, but with a defined time period, which is called as the retention period, and its value ranges between 1 to 90 days and the default value is 1. So let's see what exactly is the retention period, and then we will come back here and understand some of the history. So if you go to the database and see show parameters like percentage retention, percentage in account. So if you see it here, the default value is 1 and the default value is 0. And what you see, you find two parameters here. One is data retention time in days, another one is minimum data retention time in days. So if you see the value of this parameter at the account level, you will see these two parameters, because the minimum data retention time in days can only be set as at the account level. So for example, if the data retention time in days is 1 and minimum is 0, so the effective retention time is actually calculated by the using a formula like which one is the maximum, whether the data retention and the minimum data retention, whatever is the maximum number, that will be taken as the effective data retention. So for example, if I go and set this as say 3 and this I set it as 2 at the account level, so I'm altering the account here and I am setting the minimum as 2 and the normal one as 3, and then I will go back and see here at the account level I will see 3 and 2. So the effective data retention time is the maximum value of these two. But if you set up the value of data retention as 1 here, as 1, but then what will happen, that the effective retention time will still remain same because the minimum is defined as 2, but in the parameters it will show you both. So this is how the data retention time is actually set up at the account level, but we can alter this number at a database level as well. So for example, at a database, if I want to do it as 5, I can just change it to 5. But if I want to change the minimum data retention time at a database level, it will not allow me, because this is the account level parameter which can be only modified at account. So if I go back and see the data retention parameters in the database, I should see as 5, and this has been overridden whatever is set up at the account level. So if you come back to the account level, you will see it as like 1 and 2. The effective is like 2, but the data retention is 1 here. But if you come back in the database, it will show you the overridden value. Similarly, if you go back to the schema and you want to change it to say 6, so you can go back and change it, and when you see it in the schema level, it will show you the 6. It will not show what it is at the database or at the account level. So that's what, like, locally you can override this parameter. You can set this parameter as per your own use or what is your requirement, and you cannot basically set the minimum in schema as well. So this is all about the data retention time in days. This is a very important parameter. This is what actually controls the entire time travel. So you should understand like what is the number at the database level, at the schema level, and at the account level, and the data will be available only in this particular period. So for example, if the data retention time in days is 1 day, then you can retrieve the data by going back like 24 hours, which is a 1 day. So let's go back to the our theory, and now we understood what exactly is the retention period. So now we see like why time travel is needed. So time travel, what it does, it helps us to protect the data from the loss, like if there is any intentional or unintentional update or delete operation happened by mistake and the data is gone. And luckily we have defined the retention period as 1, which is a default value. Then we can use the time travel feature and go back in the time and retrieve the data. So time travel is also used to protect the data from the data errors resulting in the normal batch process. Suppose some batch process is happening and systematically the data got corrupted. So we have the option of time travel to basically retrieve the data set. So how can we really retrieve it? So there are like two features here. Like if I have mentioned it at a broad level, so we can like select or clone the data, and another way is to undrop the table schemas and database. So what we can do here, in order to retrieve the data, we can use the exact timestamp in the past. If we know the exact time, like before that time I need the data state, I can use the timestamp. We can use the offset as well, like give me the data like 1 hour before or like this many seconds before. Another way how can we really retrieve the data using a time travel is the query id. So for example, we know what is the wrong query id. Say if you have done any updates and you know the query id, you can get the data before this particular query execution. So I will show you in the demo that these are the two keywords which will be used to select the data. We will see it in the demo, and you can use this at and before clause when you are actually cloning the data set. Another thing is to restore the table schemas and database is using the undrop command. We will also cover this particular command in our future sessions. So at a high level, how does the time travel works? It is like I have taken this particular diagram from the Snowflake documentation. So what happens, like you have the current data storage, which is the current structure of your data, and you are doing the normal queries, ddls and dmls. But if some mistake happens and the retention time is actually defined 1 to 90 days, so what you can do here is like you can use a select query using the at and the before clause to basically retrieve the data, and you can clone as well using the at and the before clause, and you can use the undrop command to basically get back some of the objects or some of the like schemas and the database as well. So this is at a high level what is the time travel, and it is one of the part. After time travel there is something called fail safe, which we will cover in our later sessions. So before we go further, I wanted to show you some of the features where we can retrieve the data set using the add and before. So let's go back to the demo and I will show it to you.